Hello and welcome back to Raised by Giants, where we talk all things spirituality. I'm Ryder Lee. Tonight's guest is Amber Dawn. But before I introduce her, check out Honey Colony website for amazing products like Superior CBD, Colloidal Silver Elixir and Maker, energy supplements, health and beauty products, and a bunch of other really great ethically sourced products. And if you use promo code RBG10, you'll get 10% off your entire order. Check the links in the description. Also, if you would like to make a donation to help support the channel and help me produce more content, you can donate on PayPal or buy me a coffee to help support my work. It is 100% completely optional. Check the links in the description for donation options. Thank you very much. So without further ado, introducing tonight's guest, Amber Dawn. She is a spiritualist who took it to a whole other level 12 years ago. She's a firm believer in the union of body, mind, and soul in order to receive the manifestations necessary to live an abundant life. Amber has been a tarot reader for 6 years. She says that we all have a gift of receiving powerful messages from spirit. And in order to navigate through life gracefully, she is a voice to whomever will listen, giving inspiration to follow your gifts and create a reality that will help rise up humanity. Hello and welcome to the show, Amber. How are you doing, my dear?
I'm good, Ryder. Thanks for having me. How are you?
I am well. Thank you for coming on. We've been talking for a little while now, and I think that it's important to get your work out there more because you're really, really good at what you do. But before we get into that, let's get a little bit more of a background on you and your journey.
Mm. Well, our journey usually starts from when we're babies, right? So there's always synchronicities that lead you to where you are today. So I always knew that I was in tune and I could hear and sometimes see the spirit world, but nobody had ever taught me about it. So I was more scared of it than anything. I have a ghost story video that kind of gives you all the ghost stories that I could remember on there. So you should probably check that out just to kind of hear all of them and, see how they relate to you and everything. But, I'm pretty sure I've seen this shadow man. I've heard laughing in my bedroom when I was a little girl. There's always just things that have been there, even throughout my adult life. There's been points where I've had to tell the spirits to leave me alone because they were heckling me in a way, and it works. But so I ended up kind of shutting that side of myself off for a really long time because I was afraid of it. I didn't understand it. And I don't think all the spirits that were around me were necessarily the nicest ones. Some of them were, but some of them weren't. So I ended up shutting that part of me down. And then years go by, and an aunt of mine, she gifted me some tarot cards. And I think I was about 21 at that time. And her and I never really got along. So I was really shocked that she gifted me something. And so I started learning tarot. And one night, so I lived with my best friend and her boyfriend. And one night I got up to use the restroom, and I always sleep with my tarot cards, not so much anymore because I have so many now, but especially in the beginning, you sleep with your tarot cards so that they can resonate with you. And so I had them in a bag, and I went to the bathroom, and I came back in to my bedroom, and the tarot cards were all over my bed. And I was like, whoa. And they were all face down except for one. And it was the death card. And I knew right away that that was for my best friend and her boyfriend, because they were kind of having arguments and having a falling out. And little did I know that death card was kind of for all of us, because we actually all just went our separate ways after that. And so that freaked me out a little bit, because I was I've always been aware of spirituality, but I wasn't in it deep yet. I hadn't started meditating yet. I still was a mess. I was in my early 20s and partying. And so it wasn't a huge part of my life, and it kind of freaked me out. So I decided to bail out on those tarot cards. And years later, I started watching YouTube videos and came across a couple different groups, Milky Way Soul Tribe, when Brian was around and hosting the show. And then another friend of mine had his own show. And so a bunch of readers would go on there, and I was really intrigued. And so I started learning. I picked up a regular playing deck of cards, and I just learned what the suits mean and the numbers mean. And they would let me go on their channels and practice. And then eventually I moved to tarot again because I like the pictures. And I think that it kind of helps with the message that a little bit deeper than just a deck of playing cards. So
It's
yeah,
really
that was 6 years ago.
interesting that you can actually read tarot like from a deck of playing cards.
Yes. I think it's called cartomancy, if I'm pronouncing it right. So that's been around for a really, really, really long time. That's pretty much where tarot came from in the beginning. They would just use playing cards.
Yeah, I ran into a few people that well, I haven't actually met anyone that's done it for me. I've only had a few different kinds of tarot readings, but always thought that that was really interesting and that people could do that. It shows that there's an intuitiveness about it, and it's not just about the picture so much like on the card of a deck of tarot cards, right? It can be any kind of cards. I mean, people use ruins, people use all kinds of different things to symbolically give them a message.
Mm-hmm. Pendulums, all different kinds of things. The rods, so the dowsing rods, there's all different ways to. I've even come across some channels, which is really cool. I've never done it. I don't know. I've never tried, but it's basically scribing. And this woman, she'll all kinds of different things. So sometimes she'll have a plate full of really fine sand, and then she'll just take this really thin needle and start scribing or scrolling. I think it's scrolling. And she starts to see messages within the sand, which is really interesting to me. And, there's other ways where she would put a bowl of water, and she'd have special wax that drips off really good. And she would just let the wax drip into the water, and it would give her messages with the shapes of the wax. And that's like the ultimate intuition, I feel like. But I'm kind of curious with that. I kind of want to like maybe dabble in that now, because I am intuitive and I don't need tools. Typically I could just have a 5-minute conversation with somebody and have an idea of what they've been through, or what they're going through now. Of course, I'm not going to like bring it up to anybody unless they ask. But so I don't really need the cards, but they just add an extra source of entertainment for the watcher.
Right. And you did a reading for me, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks ago, maybe longer than that, maybe like a month ago. And I was very, very surprised by how in depth it was. Right. And I expected just to call you and then you would pull like a couple of cards, just like, a regular everyday tarot reader, they pull a couple of cards and they tell you whatever. But that wasn't the case with you. You created an entire story of the events. Right. And I'm like, holy crap, I expected to get on there and maybe be like 10-15 minutes, but we were like, that chat lasted for like an hour. And you were still pulling cards. And I was like, wow, this is incredible. And I've never ran into somebody that reads them the way that you do. So and you even use different decks too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh yeah, let's do this deck. And then you would whip out another deck and then you would create this big, huge story. And almost everything that you told me was I already knew about, or I had a feeling about, or was later proven to be true. So what's going on there? Tell us about the process of how you read tarot for somebody.
So the reason why a lot of tarot readers use multiple decks is for clarification. So say, for example, you get the star in, the first row here, but I want to clarify the star, but I already used this deck. So the star's already been used in this, but what if the star wants to come out again to clarify? So that's when I grab another deck. And then, if the star wants to come out again, it has the opportunity to. You don't have to do it that way, but it definitely can help clarify things a lot better. And but when I first started, I didn't do these large spreads when I first started because I didn't, it took a while to learn. A lot of people do the Celtic cross, and I don't typically do the Celtic cross because for some reason my style is just free flow. So I think this is the Celtic cross, something like that. And then you got a card in here. But typically what I do is I just let the story start to unfold. Sometimes I'll ask questions, especially when I'm clarifying things. I'll ask specific questions, but typically in the beginning, I just let the cards start showing themselves and showing the story. And then I just work off that. I've done many readings where I'm trying to do it a little bit different now, just because I have a little bit smaller of a space to work with. So I'm just trying to be a little bit more creative on how to do them. But there's been people that I've done readings for, and I'd put my yoga mat on the floor, and that whole yoga mat would just be full of cards. And it just tells me a story. It's really difficult to explain because there's things that, because like I know at one point in your reading, I asked you about someone's mother, and how I knew that, I don't remember what cards I pulled out, but sometimes I just get these visions. And if you talk to me and I'm channeling, you'll notice I look up a lot, and that's because I'm getting downloads. So, yeah, I don't really know why I chose this style. It just kind of chose me, I think. But there's so many different ways to read cards, So, it's just all about what you're comfortable with and what speaks to you and how you can flow easily and make sense.
So how do you interpret, how did you start out doing this? Did you read the booklet and then try and figure out the meanings of the cards to begin with, and then later you didn't need that? Or was it always an intuitive thing? How did you start out learning about the cards themselves?
No, I definitely didn't start out intuitive. I'm an intuitive, but I didn't start out that way with cards, because cards are different. It's a skill. You have to learn it, just like anything else. And so when I started with cartomancy, I'm going to pull out the deck that I started with. It's probably under the desk, so I don't want too much dead air. So I'm going to just forget about that. But anyways, so what I did is I just went online and I got a notebook, and I started jotting down notes on each suit, and went through all the numbers and what all the numbers represent. I'm not a numerologist. I'm not too savvy when it comes to numerology, but numerology and tarot can mean two different things. Even cartomancy, the numbers and the suits sometimes can mean something different. So, so I just jotted down a bunch of notes, and then I just started going on friend shows, and they would be totally fine with me, looking through my notes, just like a lot of people, they'll read through their booklets when they are doing readings on their shows. Eventually I wanted to get away from that though, obviously. And my mind catches on to a lot of information quickly. So it just takes repetition. And then once I started to do the tarot, that was like a whole new bag. So I had to basically relearn a new skill, which is great. I love that. And it was more, I started with, I did read the booklets, And all the booklets are really cool. Some people don't read booklets at all. I kind of like to kind of get an idea of what the author, what their purpose was, what the meaning for each of their cards are, because that'll help you learn more and expand on your explanations in the future with different readings as well, because you're remembering all these stories from different people and what their cards mean specifically to them. And so it kind of gives you this more broader way to explain things. And I really like to go on to YouTube and look for informational videos and have them teach you, because every time you listen to someone, if they're good, they're going to give you something a little bit different, to take with you and put in your bag of tricks there. So I definitely recommend like reading your booklets and going on YouTube and just researching, just like you're in school. Just be dedicated to it and serious about it, and it'll all start coming together, and you're not going to need to read books or watch videos anymore. So that's how I did it.
Now, how many of the different cards are meant to be? I mean, I'm sure that there's times where they're to be taken literal, like literally by their title and what's shown on the card. But just like you were explaining, whenever, like your story, you had the death card flipped up in your bed while all the other ones were face down. Right. And that death card didn't necessarily mean that someone was going to die, right?
No.
It meant like a separation or a disconnection or someone separating from somebody else. So how often is it that it's more allegorical and metaphorical and more symbolic meaning than an actual literal meaning than what's on the card?
It depends on the surrounding cards. So you can have a death card and it can for certain mean that death is in the future. Someone may die. I don't ever tell anyone that. Like if it's what I see, maybe I'll ask if somebody's ill in the family. I try to be respectful, but sometimes, so it depends on the surrounding cards. So for example, if you have King of Swords next to the death card, and then you have Queen of Pentacles after the death card. So that would, to me, mean a couple, a relationship's about to end, because they're both on that. There's two, I can't think of the name right now, but that it's a person when it's a king, queen, page, or knight. So that's how you can kind of tell that we're specifically talking about a person. If you see 8 of Cups next to the death card, 8 of Cups is cups. So it's not a person. So it could be death of maybe you're mourning the loss of someone, and the death card can represent you actually finally getting past that mourning, because the death card represents death, but it also represents rebirth. So it's an ending of a situation and the beginning of a new situation. So yeah, it just depends on the surrounding cards.
Yeah, I mean, that makes 100% sense that it wouldn't just be so literal all the time. Because I think when, people that don't know what they're doing or don't know what they're talking about, if they pulled like a death card, they'd be like, oh no, someone's going to die or something. But there's more meanings to it. There's hidden meanings, and it's symbolic for a bunch of different things that could possibly be going on in your life. And then it just matters on how you interpret that situation and what you're going through. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, it could be a warning that you need to end something. If it's reversed, that has a whole different meaning. That can mean like now you're moving forward. Now you've gotten past that, it's over. Now you're moving forward. So it just depends on the surrounding cards. Same with none of these cards should be taken literally per se, but they all have symbology. And the cool thing is like when you won't be able to see this, I don't think, because my ring light's so bright, but there's all these really cool pictures. And what you're supposed to do is wherever your eyes focus on first is what you want to feel out and what that means. So for example, with the star, this woman here has a beam of light coming from her forehead. That's the first thing I recognize with this card, at least in this moment. There's other things in this as well. There's a star up above it. There's all kinds of stuff in this picture. So, but the first thing I notice is the beam of light coming out of her forehead and going up into the heavens. So that means healing, because the star card is a healing card. It's also a success card. It's somebody with vision, so it just depends on, you can focus on, like, there's flowers on here, and there's 3 women on here, and there's like this hair that's braided and it's going up into the heavens. To me, that means that there's 3 or more people involved in a situation that you're in that is going to be very plentiful, because you're all going to be working together and creating and watering the seeds you've sown and making these beautiful flowers, stuff like that. So it's very, very symbolic. So you have to be really creative. I'm a very visual person. I can, make up some awesome story in my mind's eye and be in that moment. So I'm really good at doing that stuff. Everyone has their own way of reading. Some people are very literal, some people are not as colorful in their readings. So it just depends on your style. But yeah, I would say never take it literal, but make a story out of it that would be literal, right? If that makes sense.
And that would be the point and the reason why you create the story whenever you're doing a reading, so you can get more information and then interpret the cards best around the person's situation that's asking the question or that's wanting the reading from the cards.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes people don't even have questions. You'd be surprised how many people ask me for readings and they don't even really have a focus. They just want me to read for them, which is totally fine. Sometimes specific questions can be a little bit difficult, especially when it comes to work. I've noticed a lot of people want to know what their purpose is. And sometimes that can be a little bit tricky. I've done it and it always works out in the end, but I get a little nervous with those ones because for some reason I just can't pinpoint exactly what the cards are trying to tell me. But when people have questions, it's nice because then you can kind of focus on it and you're not all over the place, which I tend to do. I'm a Gemini, so I can be like all over the place. But I've had a lot of really powerful readings with people that they had no focus, but then I would dig up, because if you don't have a focus for me, then I'm going to have to tell you what I see. And sometimes I dig up their childhood or something really traumatic that has happened. And those ones can be kind of heavy, but I do it because I want to help people to, realize that they're still holding on to their trauma and their pain. And, I see it in the cards. It's still here. I can see that you haven't moved past this yet. And I've had people in tears, and then they'll tell me their story. And it was exactly like what I read. And it never ceases to amaze me. Like, I'm always shocked, especially with those types of readings where it's just like, whoa, it's like, I can't believe I was actually right, but it happens constantly. Like the tarot doesn't lie. I always tell people, like, tarot doesn't lie as long as you don't abuse it. And as long as you respect it and you cleanse them and you pray over them and you know what I mean? You're respectful to the art, then they're going to give you the right answers of what people need to hear.
Yeah, that's what I really liked about your reading too, Amber, was that you didn't pull any punches, and that's really needed, right? Like, you tell it exactly the way that the cards are supposed to be read, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you let people know the absolute truth, and that's very, very important, because a lot of people, they want to sugarcoat things, not just in this community, but everywhere in our reality, right? They want to not tell you exactly what's going on for some apparent reason. I don't know,
because it makes them uncomfortable.
Probably. It definitely has a lot to do with uncomfortability and stepping outside of your comfort zone. But I appreciated that a lot, from your reading, that you told me exactly what was happening, and I respected
and
that.
I told you what would happen in the future, and it did. So yeah. And it's cool. I mean, I'm just very grateful that I have this talent, and, you know, the dedication to learn something like this and the dedication to keep going. And, you know, in the beginning, I was really scared. Like I'd get really nervous going on channels and stuff because I didn't want to like give out the wrong message, or I felt like I didn't know enough. But I just kept doing it. You know, if you have something that you want to do, you got to put yourself out there so that you can get more comfortable with being around people to help them or to give readings or whatever your gift is. You know, it's just like playing guitar. If you want to be in a band, as you know, you have to practice and you got to get yourself out on stage, even though it's scary. You know, it strengthens your gifts. You know, the more you honor your gifts and you express your gifts to the world, you're going to get more knowledge and you're going to get more opportunities to express it, you know? So it's just all about like sucking it up for a while until you're not scared anymore, and just keep doing it until you're cool and you're, you know, practice makes perfect for sure. And I'm still learning all the time. You know, I typically don't look at the numbers on the cards, but lately I've been starting to do that. So it just takes, it's steps. You know, if you're learning tarot, you can't put too much pressure on yourself to know everything overnight. It doesn't work like that. It's steps. I've been doing this for 6 years and I'm still learning, you know, which is cool. That's perfect for my Gemini mind.
Do you think that your experiences growing up with the paranormal and things like that influenced you at all to get into reading tarot?
I do. Absolutely. Because I've always been like, I have a lot of Scorpio in my chart. I know I'm going kind of heavy on this astrology stuff, but you know, Scorpios have the ability to connect to the other side really well and stuff. And so I always like, you know, if I had a thought in my head and then it would happen, oftentimes I would be protected, you know, like something told me, don't go this way, go this way. And then I'd hear something happened over there or something, you know? So it definitely, and I think, you know, I don't know if you believe in past lives and stuff like that, but I know this isn't my first rodeo. And so I think it's just kind of inherent in me. And it was, it wasn't, it chose me. I didn't choose it. Cause like I said, I
Your
was
camera's
scared
off.
of it at first, you know, and I got rid of the tarot deck a long time ago and left it for many years. And
Your camera's
so
off, Amber.
thank you.
Get it
Sorry,
back
guys, my camera
on.
turns off. But yeah,
It's okay.
so I think it's just inherent in me and it chose me. And of course, it was up to me and my willpower to actually do it. But sometimes there's just things in your life where you just have a pull toward, you know, and it's like, I need to do this. It makes me happy, you know? So
Yeah, I mean, for sure, I would suppose. I mean, I had a very similar experience like that whenever I was younger too, that pushed me into the paranormal and, you know, ghost hunting and stuff like that. You know, like, so I mean, it makes sense that they all kind of go hand in hand together, you know. So you would experience one thing growing up and then it pushes you into the next thing whenever, you know, you're older. And then whenever you dig deep into the thing that you're wanting to pursue, then like it becomes a part of your reality and a part of your life.
yeah. Yeah. And I feel like, you know, the universe has really cool ways of creating synchronicities and getting you into the right space with the right people. And, you know, those right people will motivate you and they'll be doing something that you're like, hey, that seems really cool. You know, I want to try it. Like that happens a lot, you know? And so you just have to trust that these synchronicities are not just coincidences. They're meant, it's being put into your path for a reason, you know, and you have to honor that. You know, we can't take advantage of our gifts because we're here for a reason, not just to work and eat and sleep. You know, we're here for a bigger purpose. And if we don't take advantage of that and appreciate that and honor that part of us, then the universe is going to be like, all right, you know, I'm just gonna like close doors then, you know, it's not opening up any doors, not to where you need to go if you just ignore your gifts. So
Yeah, I think it's all about the experience, right? How we interpret our own experience of life. and then we base our entire reality on those experiences. I think that that's really what's going on a fundamental level. And then we assign all of these different labels and categories and things to justify what we're going through, right? Whenever it's really just about experience, we're here to experience all the things of this 3D reality, whether that's pain, whether that's happiness, whether that's joy, and we can experience the extremes, the both polar opposites of each other here in this 3D reality, and we might not be able to somewhere else. So I think that the planet is a very special place in that regard, that we are able to experience an array of emotions and feelings and sensations and pleasure, because we're in a physical body. We might not be in a physical body in another reality or in another dimension, and we take this body, this physical 3D reality, for granted. We're like, oh no, we hate this place sucks, you know what I mean? But we're only working based off of our surroundings and our environment and what we know. We don't know what we don't know.
And also, like, how are you supposed to be empathetic toward other people who are going through things if you've never gone through anything that was hard? You don't have to go through the same exact situation as other people, but you can feel that pain and be empathetic and try to help people, because we live in a harsh reality. Like, it is cool here, but it sucks at the same time sometimes. And, you just have to learn, like, from heartaches, like, and follow your intuition and feel your heart. Like, how, I don't know, I couldn't imagine, because I know eventually as we move up levels, we're going to start feeling more constant love instead of this flux of emotions. So like you said, maybe we should kind of embrace that, because what if we never get to feel, of course, none of us are like, yay, I feel like crap today. But if you only feel love, which would be great, don't get me wrong, but wouldn't it be kind of interesting to feel other things besides that sometimes, just to, I don't know, just kind of, I don't know. I've never been on that realm before. I don't know how it is. Maybe I would just love feeling love all the time, but it's just going to be it's just going to be different. And so why not just embrace everything, like all these emotions, and learn to unlearn stuff, like the things that we've been taught. A lot of it, most of it is fake. It doesn't even exist. It's not real, but we make it real by holding on to these ideas and these feelings. So when you think of a situation that you've been in the past that you didn't like, and you feel that feeling, it's like, no, I don't want to feel that feeling. You know what I mean? It's like, how do you embrace that feeling so that you can let go instead of like bottling it up all the time, So it's, I just feel like our journey here, a big part of it is to learn to let go of stuff and not be so attached to everything, because attachments and aversions are what keeps us stuck in repetitive cycles. Once you don't care and you let it go, you'll really start to allow yourself to heal and be free and not so attached to things. And you won't have this flux of emotions anymore, because you'll learn how to have a steady state of emotion, So for me, at least in my life, that's what I know is one of my main focuses, is to release all of that stuff from the past, and learn to accept it and just to move on, not be so attached to everything,
Yeah, because attachment leads to desire, and desire leads to lust. And lust leads to suffering, and suffering leads to pain.
Exactly.
And then it's just this constant cycle of doing the same thing over and over and over again. There has to be somewhere that we break off from that. And I don't know exactly how to do that, or, what the method is of escaping that. But you did bring up something really important. That is, well, if all we felt was love, then where's the growth in that, right? I think we're here to experience the duality, right? There's duality within everything. There's polarity within all of it. We live in a dualistic, pluralistic reality here. And it's like when one thing happens, we perceive it to be one way. When another thing happens, we perceive it to be another way. And based on our environment, based on our experiences, we're going to perceive it differently. You're going to perceive whatever it is that you're feeling differently than the way that I'm feeling it, right? But then who's right and who's wrong?
Right. That's why you have to give people the space to feel, try not to give people a hard time for feeling a certain way, because you don't know why they felt that way. It could have triggered something from when they were younger, or it could be this belief that they've been holding on to that they don't know how to get rid of. And there's a lot of different teachers. And before I forget, a lot of teachers, a lot of masters will tell you. And so I watch a lot of your videos and everything, and like with the brotherhood and stuff like that. And so I know you may have a different viewpoint on this, but from what I've been taught is that we just played this game on ourselves. Like, we're the ones that like created this, and came down here. And a lot of masters, once they have become enlightened, they'll laugh. Like they'll laugh so much because they're like, I can't believe I've been holding on to all of this pain. Now, mind you, a lot of these masters were in a lot of pain before they became enlightened, that's how a lot of people, that's sometimes you got to hit rock bottom before the shell cracks, but they say that they just couldn't stop laughing because they actually realized, like, oh my gosh, I did this to myself. And, and yay, my life is great now. And I don't have any attachments. But there's plenty of teachers out there. There's a lot of work that I've done over 12 years, and it takes work. You have to write things down or visualize. You have to feel the feels. You have to cry. You have to let yourself be mad. You have to let yourself, feel that amazing joy and cry while you're meditating, all that stuff. And it takes a lot of willpower to do that, because we live in a world where you can't be like bringing up all this emotions. I was talking to this to a friend the other day, like, how difficult is it when you're in a dark night of the soul and you have to go to work and like put a smile on your face? Like it's hard. It's a warrior's sport here, but there's so many different things. There's so many different people who have really good methods. And it just takes practice. It takes a lot of practice. It took me years even to remember how to love, because I shut my heart down a long time ago. And I just got tired I got sick and tired of being sick and tired. And so I changed, and I did a lot of work, and it's out there. There's plenty of ways to do it.
Yeah, I think that people, they want to make it seem like this reality is so bad and everything is so stacked against us. And I'm not gonna lie, there is some really shitty aspects of this reality, right? But if it was so bad and so shitty, why would anyone want to come here? So there's someone somewhere else that is seeing this reality right now and was like, oh shit, I got to get in on that. But we're seeing it as bad because we're in it right now.
And our memories have been wiped clean. Exactly. So it would be nice if, some people remember. What were you saying?
We don't have that other perspective from a higher level, right? We're operating off of this worldly perception down here.
And I feel like that's the whole point. Like, I feel like that's kind of why, because to me, I know everyone's different. So for me, I think like, so say we have source energy. I don't like to call it God because, there's a whole stigma related to that name, or that word. But so say it's just like this big, huge fire, right? This is just an example. And then a piece of that fire, an ember or whatever, just kind of flakes off, right? I consider all of us that little flake off of the main power source. So just because we flaked off and we went into a different, we created a new fire, right? Doesn't mean that we're not we're not attached to that main fire. Like that's where we came from, and we still are attached to that, and we can go back to that. But so source is not all loving, right? But how do you, like I was saying with the whole feeling love all the time, maybe God got bored. Maybe source got bored and was like, I need to experience something different, you know? And here, let's create all these different worlds, because clearly we're not the only world that exists, or realm. But yeah, I feel like it was just a way to experience itself. And, you know, but at the same time, things are a little not good here, right? So I think a lot of us have come down here to like try to uplift people, because you don't want to stay, if you're going to die, do you want to be reincarnated back here, or do you want to go elevate? Do you want to elevate to something a little bit more positive next time? So it's important that you do the work here and you're a good person, so that when you die, you're at that higher frequency and you can elevate.
Yeah, I mean, then that's in consideration if you think that this reality is complete garbage. But I can guarantee that there is someplace else out in the universe that's way worse.
Oh, for sure.
You know,
Yeah.
and there's also places out there that are way better. I just think that we've taken this world and the reality that we're in, especially in this community, in the truth community and the conspiracy community and spiritual community. We've been looking at this reality as like just a giant shit show, when it doesn't have to be a shit show. Now we can create it and turn it into whatever we want.
And it's all about what you place your focus on. You know, I have a beautiful life, but I could find some stuff to focus on that I could complain about all day. You know, we can all do that. So it's just about where you place your focus, you know, go outside, look at the birds, enjoy the sun, you know, like stop looking at the news, stop watching murder investigations all the time. Guilty.
Oh, those are fun, Amber. What are you talking about?
But, you know, you have to get yourself out of, you know, just refocus, redirect your focus. You know, I mean, all of us can, my back hurts. Well, okay. Like, how about, you know, I don't know, my feet feel good. I don't know. Focus on something that's nice. Like, oh, well, my hair looks good, but my back hurts. You know, you got to kind of make jokes and laugh at yourself sometimes, and not take yourself so seriously.
Yeah, balance yourself out, bring the balance in of neutrality, you know, and not get locked into any certain perception of the way that things are, because I'm a firm believer that everything is a possibility. There's nothing that's off limits. You know, anything can be reality if you choose it to be reality, or if you want it to be reality. You know, and I feel like that a lot of people are bringing in a negative aspect of reality because they're constantly talking about it. And, you know, I'm guilty of that too. I do that all the time. You know what I mean? So I'm putting myself on the hit list here too, as well. I do the exact same thing. It's like something that we can't really help because of our frame of mind and being in the community. Right. But is it really helping, or is it just creating a new echo chamber for people to
it's just allowing more creation of the same crap that you're focusing on, you know? So you're going to be like, see, I knew I was right. I knew that sucked, you know? And it's like, yeah, because you created it into your existence and now it's there. Now you're being validated by your own creation. You know, it's like you manifested that. I used to be negative Nancy, really bad. And I remember one day me and my best friend were talking, and we both just kind of like we would talk crap, and you know, and I just had this switch where I was like, ew, I don't like being like this. Like I feel like a diva, you know, I feel like a snooty asshole. And so I made a conscious decision to if I don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all type thing. Or if I catch myself saying something negative, I would turn it around and look and say, no, actually, even though brown's not my favorite color, it's really pretty, on oak, or it's really pretty like in this ring or whatnot. It's like just redirecting that. And it takes practice. Like it took me years because I was so much different back in the day, and I didn't like the person that I had became. And so I just chose to start putting in the work, and it takes a long time, I mean, it took years. And I even after 5 years of practicing it and stuff, when I was actually happier, I'd still have people say, you're so angry. And I'm like, if you would have seen me 5 years ago, you would not be saying that. But, it just takes time. You just have to have patience and consistency.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. So let's get back to the cards here really quick. Do you think that there's like a spirit to the cards, and depends on who created them and who imaged them, you will get different results? Like, do you think that there's like an attachment to a certain deck that will could be better or could be worse for the individual that is reading the cards?
I would say this is going to be split. So I think a lot of people will say, yes, there is a spirit attached to it. Typically I would say it's a spirit that you work with already. So one of your guides. My belief is everything is spirit. And it's basically, for me, I don't call on other spirits to help me do readings unless I do my pendulum. My pendulum, I feel like I do ask for my guides to come in, because it for some, I don't know why. Honestly, I don't know why. I just do what I feel like doing. But for me, I think like I just connect to my higher self, because we are all have the ability to be connected to the Akashic records. And so once you're in that code and connected, then spirit's going to like, everything is spirit. This is spirit, this is spirit. So yeah, technically, yeah, I think everything is connected to spirit, but I don't know. I think everyone kind of has a different idea of that. Some people, especially religious people, will say a demonic spirit is attached to those cards. That's not true, So it just depends on the person you ask. But for me, I would say, no, there's no spirits attached to my cards. But there can be energy attached to them. So, if you're doing a bunch of readings, then you're going to want to cleanse them and sage them, and, put out that I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but put out the intention of cleansing the cards, clean slate, so it's not necessarily a spirit, it's more energy and memory. So I don't want to give somebody a reading if it already has that memory and energy attached to it from a different reading, if that makes sense.
So you clear them after every reading?
Yes.
You sage them and
I sage them. Sometimes my friend Steve had told me this little trick here, which is cool. So if I don't have time to sage, I'll just use a crystal, and then I'll just I'll wrap it around, and I'll envision a light from the crystal wrapping it around, and then I'll tap it and then pull it off. And it's all about intention. You can, some people blow really hard on their cards or their crystals as well. You can do this with your crystals. If you're running out of time and you just need a quick cleanse, you can put the intention of blowing really hard and pushing out all that extra energy, so you can be creative and do it anyway. It's all about intention. You can even visualize the cards being cleansed, so there's many different ways.
That's interesting. Because I mean, obviously cleaning crystals is important. I throw mine in the water, give them a little rinse with a little bit of soap, get them nice and cleaned off, because I mean, that would suck if you had a reading and then the reading from that individual that you just had a reading for transfers over into the next reading, and then before you know it, you have a whole screwed up, jacked up reading from that person.
Yeah.
I mean, energy is really
5 people
easily,
later.
yeah, energy is really easily transferable, right? Like, and you're right with our intention. Like our intention is everything. With our imagination, you know, wrapping the crystal around the cards, pulling it out is very, very important, I think, anyway.
Intention is so powerful because, you know, there's all these different types of experiments that people do. But the rice one is the one that's coming in my head, you know. And when you think you have 3 different jars, I'm sure everybody knows about this, but I'm going to go ahead and explain it anyway. You have 3 different jars of rice, and one of the jars, you're going to focus on it and you're going to focus hate. And you're going to keep doing that every day for however long, a week or 2. And then the second one, you're going to focus on love. And then you're going to do that every day. And then the other one, you can focus on like, what's another kind of negative trait? Jealousy. So you can focus on the feeling of jealousy. And the love one will stay nice and solid white and beautiful. And then the other ones will start to rot and get really green and nasty. And that's just from your thoughts, just like people like to program their water with their thoughts and things like that. So why wouldn't intention be important, you know, with everything, right? It's just powerful. It's just like these brain waves that somehow go into the object and can transform it.
What's the most common question that you get for a reading? Like what do people want to know the most? Is it mostly about the future, what's going to happen next? I mean, you mentioned earlier their purpose. People want to know their purpose a lot. But is the questions normally specific, or are they generalized questions?
I've had all kinds of questions. I'd say for the most part, people don't even have questions. They just want a reading. So that's probably the most popular.
Well, I mean, whenever they do have a question, is there more of a common question that a lot of people have, or is it more individualized to what they're going through at the time?
It's always individualized, but I'd say, like you said, the main one is, what's my purpose? You know, am I on the right path? Loved ones that have passed on, you know, what they want to tell, what their loved one wants to tell them, things like that. But the main one is what's my purpose? And, you know, I can do the reading and get a generalized idea of what it's telling me. You know, maybe music is your purpose, maybe building things. So it just depends on the suits of the cards. But, you know, my answer always just being who I am, you know, without, I always add this is, you're already, if you're living a life where you're healing from your past, you're not a mean person. You're not holding on to the things that bad people have done to you. If you're moving progressively and being fulfilled in your life and you're nice to people, that's your purpose. You know, we don't have to be gurus or professional singers or artists that's making all this money to be living a purposeful life, you know. As long as you're growing spiritually, that's your purpose. So that's usually like what I like to add in there, you know, just to kind of take the pressure off people, because I think people expect that their purpose is going to make them millions of dollars, and that's not always the case.
No, you're 100% right in saying that. And we've been programmed to think that our purpose is being the most successful at business, or having a bunch of money, or having the biggest house, you know, or the hottest girlfriend, or all these materialistic shit, you know, when it's not that way at all.
It's nice to have that stuff, but that's really not, like you said, it's so 3D. It's where's that stuff going to go when we die?
I mean, is it purpose? Is it purpose that we want, or is it fulfillment? Because I think there's a difference between purpose and fulfillment, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you have fulfillment, then you don't need anything. You don't want anything.
Exactly. Abundance, you know.
Yeah.
That's what I always ask for the universe. Just give me abundance. It doesn't have to be like lavish things, just fulfilled. Like you said, fulfillment. That's really what we all want, is just to feel happy, and like, that's it.
So how specific could I get with a question? And let's say that I wanted a reading, like could I get really, really specific? Like could you do a reading for an entire paragraph for like one question? And it
Yeah,
give you,
sure.
okay, so it doesn't matter how long the question is or how short the
No.
question is, you can still do the reading.
And I mean, how long can one question really be? I mean, yeah, if you're writing a paragraph, you're probably going to have a few different questions in
Mhm.
there. But sure, yeah, I could do, yeah, whatever I'd set my mind to, I can do it, even if it's a challenge. It's good. I like challenges. So
So would it be more, would more specific and more elaborate the question be? Would it help you more, or is it more of a generalized question that you can
it
work with
depends on the
better?
question, because some questions it's like I was talking about earlier, if somebody wants to know if someone's going to die, I don't feel very comfortable answering those questions. So I don't usually, I usually won't do a reading for that. But yeah, it just depends on the question. Cause some things, it could be like, I lost my wedding ring. That's when scribing comes in handy. There's a lot of people that are good at that, but with tarot, it's like, I lost my wedding ring. Where is it? And it's like, I don't know if I can necessarily find your wedding ring with tarot. I mean, I could try, but certain things like that, it's a little bit more difficult. So it just depends on the question. Or like, is me and my spouse going to break up? Yeah, I could probably answer that. Is that something you want to know though? Like
And
from me?
if you're already asking that question, then
Yeah.
that tells you all that you need to know right there,
Yeah.
basically.
Those questions are hard, especially if they're in a long-term relationship. Like if you're just dating someone, then I'm cool with answering those questions. But if this is like a marriage and you got family, I don't feel comfortable. I mean, I might, it just depends on how I know you. And, I just don't feel comfortable doing those kind of questions. I don't want to
And
be responsible for your divorce. You know what I mean? If I'm like, oh yeah, they're totally cheating on you. I see threes all over the place and they're going to be like, what? So I don't like, and what if they really weren't? Maybe I just misread it. Like I don't like that. So
so is there a thing on your screen that says movie recording has been stopped automatically?
okay.
Okay, perfect. I was just making sure that it wasn't on my end, because normally I can record for however long and it's not a problem. But yeah, because yeah, I wouldn't want anyone to blame me either. Like Amber told me that
Yeah.
that we're gonna break up, and then whenever you know something like that, it shifts your
You'll
intentions
cause
too.
it.
Yeah,
You'll cause a
exactly.
breakup because you have that in your head now. You'll start causing arguments and stuff and then going, see, she was right. And it's like, no, I've a long time ago, I've had a psychic do that. She was like, he's cheating on you. You need to leave him and all this. And I mean, to this day, he denies it. But we broke up because of it. And I don't want to be like that person. So, but
Yeah.
again, it depends on how I know you. If you're my friend and
Mhm.
I kind of know your story and you know what I mean, then I can really tap into your energy. And then I usually will focus on that more than the cards, but I'll still pull a couple cards for friends. Um, but I always warn them, like, listen, this is the current energy. It doesn't mean that can't be changed. All tarot, anything like tarot, it's only focusing on where your energy is currently. It can be changed. You can change your future. So that's kind of what's cool about tarot is you kind of get a heads up, like, hey, this is going on. Maybe you should start looking at things a little differently, you know, taking different routes of communication and things like that. So you can switch this around.
Do you read tarot for yourself?
Not very often. Very, very rarely.
Why is
Because I'm
that?
biased, right? I know my story. Or I know what I think about somebody, I know. And so I'm putting that energy into the cards, and I'm going to read the cards how I subconsciously feel about the situation anyways. So I would much rather have a friend or even a stranger do it for me.
Do you ever just randomly read cards for people that you don't have a booking for?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like just randomly, like let's say one of your friends, like would you just do it for yourself is what I mean. Like would you just read cards for somebody else and like not ever like tell them just because you want to know something about someone?
Um, I have done that. Yeah. Yeah. But I don't do it very often. And typically I ask the pendulum if that's okay before I do it, because I don't want to impede on somebody's space, without getting some kind of like, okay, so I asked my pendulum if I'm going to do that to somebody without them knowing. And then sometimes you'll just get some crazy spread and it doesn't make any sense. And you're like, yeah, they don't want me to know, because their spirit, their spirit can lock it down. You won't get any information from them if they don't want it. So
It's really interesting. I think that there's something weird going on with your camera. So
oh, okay.
let's wrap it up here. And where can people find your work? Let's say they want to get a reading, they're interested and they have a question, or if they just want to get a generalized reading, where can they do that at?
So I have an email. It's AmberDawnTarot at protonmail.com. And you can just email me with questions. If you have any questions, I read all my emails. So, if you have some concerns and you need advice for some reason and you want to come to me, you can email me about anything. Just keep it classy. And, as far as readings, you can reach out to me there. I do have Facebook and Instagram, but it's all privated these days. And if I don't know, like everyone who's coming and requesting, I don't always accept it. So I would say the best way is to email me. And then of course you can go to my channels, and I do readings over on Amber Dawn Tarot. And, if you just want some reading, I usually go zodiac based. So if you want to hear a reading that's kind of generalized, you might resonate with those as well. And we're going to start doing more chats on Amber Dawn Rising. That's my main channel. So yeah, that's how you can get a hold of me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Amber. All of Amber's links will be in the description of this video. And if you want to know something, you have a really good question, or you just want a generalized reading, I could not recommend anybody more than her. Best tarot reading that I have ever gotten. And all of it was true. I was blown away too. I was like, holy crap, what's happening? I did not expect it like this. But thank you so much, Amber, for coming on. I appreciate you a lot. Appreciate your time here tonight.
Thank you, Ryder. Thank you, everybody.
For everyone else, thanks for watching and listening. Much love to everyone in the chat. Please be sure to hit that thumbs up button to help the channel out in the YouTube algorithm. Share, subscribe, hit the bell icon as well for notifications. The link to my channel on Odysee is in the description. Hit the follow button over there as a backup, and you can catch this episode and any of my other episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or Google Podcasts, and you can download them directly to your device on Spreaker.com for free. Links are in the description. Remember, we're not only in a spiritual war, but a war on humanity. Stay aware, stay alert, keep loving your heart for everyone. Stay safe out there, and if you can see through the illusion, you are the solution. See you guys next time.